Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Chess Classics. Today we're watching a game from 1979 played between Eric Lobron playing as white and his opponent Roman Dzindzichashvili, who was playing as black. Both really strong grandmasters. White was one-time winner of the West German Championships, so both players are really strong. And this game continues one awkward opening. I mean, it's not awkward, it is tested, but it is not so seen in the mainstream. And it is King Fianchetto opening with G3, which this game opened for Eric Lobron. We have E5 on the board, bishop to G2 and D5. Whenever white wants to fianchetto one of his bishops, the idea for the other side is to always grab the center, which black does. We have D3 with the idea to prepare for E4. C6 to overprotect this pawn. We have knight to F3, a bishop to D6 to protect this pawn as well. Castle for white and knight to F6 now played for black. Knight B to D2, castle for black, and we have E4 on the board, a position that kind of reminds us of reverse King's Indian, where white is now in the usually black's position and white is the one that breaks with A4. Rook to E8 was played, rook to E1 for white, and right now knight B to D7, another developing move. C3 getting ready to push for a D4 and also getting ready to protect this pawn with queen to C2. We have knight to C5 on the board. Obviously black tries to attack this pawn. Queen to C2 protects it. D takes on E4, D takes on E4, a multi-purpose move. Queen to C2. Now this pawn on E4 is protected as well. A bishop goes on C7 with the idea to open up this D file. We have bishop to F1. The main idea is to go with knight to C4 and then put pressure on the E5 square. We have A5 on the board. Black tries some counterattack, try to push away with this pawn, but A4 and white doesn't allow that. Bishop to G4 is played. H3 asking questions: where will you go with your bishop? Will you give it to me or will you go back? Black decides to go back, and right now we have knight to H4 with the idea to go on F5. This is a really nice square for this knight, and in case G6 is played, then this is not good because G4 is what follows. So knight to H4, knight F to D7. Black tries to open up the position slightly, to open up his kingside position, to have more space for maneuvering. We have knight to C4 now, trying to put pressure on this pawn. Queen to F6 is played, and also the idea of queen to F6 is that if ever G4 is played, then of course immediately now G4 is not possible because this knight hangs, but in case G4 would be possible, bishop G6 would follow and then the trade would happen with the queen, so black wouldn't ruin his pawn structure. We have knight to E3 now, again trying to pressure this square on F5. Queen goes on E6, and right now we have a bishop to C4 here played for white, attacking this queen and also temporarily sacrificing this pawn. Now let's see what will happen if queen takes on H3 was played. Then knight E goes on F5 here, and right now let's say you play something like bishop to G4, then a bishop to F1 is what follows, and your queen is in trouble, so you have to go with the bishop picks up on F5 and bishop takes on H3. So this is not really a sacrifice, this is a trap for this queen, so you shouldn't get greedy whenever your opponent gives up a free pawn. Black sees that and he goes with queen to F6. We have knight to G4 right now, another great move. This is not a bad move at all, pressuring to exchange these bishops. We have a bishop takes on G4, H takes on G4, and the idea is that now rook can come on H1 and rook can create some threats on the H file. We have knight to E6 for black with the idea to stop the advancement of this pawn, and right now we have knight to F5 played for white. The game continued with knight to G5, but after knight to F5, let's say G6 is played, then knight to H6 check, king to G7. This knight is protected and white can continue with king to G2 and then rook to H1 with a perfectly comfortable position for white, and white is better here. So knight to G5 was played in order to stop the advancement of these pawns. We have king to G2 for white. White continues with his idea. Knight to C5 for black, with the idea to try and create some counterplay, maybe attack this pawn. We have bishop picking up on G5, queen takes on G5, and rook to H1 was played. In the game, rook A to D8 was played for black, and right now we have a rook takes on h7, which is a dubious sacrifice. The game is of course not losing here for white, but the position is actually equal after this sacrifice. After rook a to d8, the best way to continue was to actually go for queen to e2, and I will show you a sample line. For example, rook to d2, now attacking this queen, and after queen to f3, now these both pieces will be able to hang, so you have to be careful. Let's say now after knight to e6, rook to h5, your queen is attacked, and right now, let's say after bishop to b6, you are not sacrificing your queen. By the way, this is picking up this queen is not a good move, because right now after knight to g5 your queen is trapped and you have to go with queen to e2, and after this trade actually black is slightly better, so this is not what you want to do. But after bishop to b6 you have to go with bishop picking up on e6 first, and right now after, let's say, queen to g6, rook g5, queen takes on g5, knight h6 check. Let's say why is this bad? For example, I want to show you. So after rook to g5, this is actually not a sacrifice of the rook, because after queen to g5, knight h6 check, and after queen takes on h6, queen picks up on f7 check, king h8, and queen picks up on e8 with a mate. So this was the way how you should continue the game, but rook takes on h7 is not the end of the world. The position is now balanced, unfortunately, because after king to h7, what white had in mind was bishop picks up on f7, and a rook on h1 is a checkmate threat right now because of this nice bishop that blocks all the escape squares here. So black is forced to play rook e6, give up some material, bishop picks up on e6, knight picks up on e6, and the position is equal. Game continued with a queen to b3, pressuring this knight here. Although black has one pawn of advantage, the position is dead equal, because white has a really nice compensation for this pawn. He has an open h file. This king is in a trouble, so white thought that this was enough for a win. But right now we have knight to f4 check. Black finds another amazing resource. Other than that, any other move was not easy. For example, now after rook to e6, rook to e8 is a move that would follow, and after rook to h1, let's say now king to g8, black holds, but this is really unpleasant to play. So that is the reason why after queen to b3, a knight f4 sacrifice was found. This is not an equal position. Of course, it gives white slight advantage if white finds the right moves, but white doesn't find the right move, and he plays king to f3. He had a much better way to save, but he was scared that after knight to f4, g takes on f4, he was scared of this queen invading here, and let's say after knight to g3, e takes on f4. And right now the way you should continue here as white, the only move actually basically to see this and to continue this game was queen to f7 with the idea rook to h1 checkmate, but this is not easy to find in game. Everything else is losing. So let's say now f takes on g3 is actually bad because of the checkmate, as I mentioned. After queen to f7, the way black should continue is rook to d1, and after rook takes, queen to f5 check. This is what would follow here, and this is how this game should continue. But of course it is not easy to find. White probably saw all of the threats here roaming around his king, and he was really scared, and he played king to f3, which actually leads to a losing position, because black now finds rook to d3 check. And now after knight to e3, which is the best move, we have queen to h6. The idea is simple. I will show you right now. In the game, g takes on f4 was played, but after queen to h6, let's say you do nothing here and you just simply play, let's say, a random move, rook to b1. How black continues his attack? Where black continues with queen to h2. And now all sorts of threats are coming. One of the threats is, of course, to go with your queen here. I will show you right now. So let's say g takes on f4 is played, then a rook to d2 is how black checkmates you. He has a queen h3 checkmate. This pawn is also hanging, and it's a checkmate threat, so nothing you can do here. White is in checkmate, so nothing you can do here. After queen to h2, what else is there here? Can you ignore this threat? Let's say you play some random move like this. Simply queen to g2 is a checkmate because this knight is pinned. Really difficult position. After queen to h6 and g takes on f4 was played, white continued. Black continues with rook to d2. Same idea, queen to h3 is a checkmate. King goes on g2. White, it seems like white is doing just fine, but black has amazing resource. E takes on f4, and now you might be thinking, what's the idea with that? I mean, it's nothing special, the position is kind of equal, but it's actually not, because right now black deliberately allowed a rook to h1 move. As you can see, this queen went into a pin, and it looks like that after rook to h1, white is simply winning here. Black made a mistake, but actually he has a brilliant rook picks up on f2 check. Now king on f2 is played, but firstly, before we take this rook, we first take this knight with a check, and after king to g2, it looks like that we have a queen and that black made a mistake, but queen picks up on h1, king takes on h1, and e2, pardon me, and e2 is where white resigned this game, because the position of this queen is so bad that simply this queen cannot stop this pawn from promoting. And after this pawn promotes with a check, I mean, of course you can try with this, you don't have immediate check, but we promote with a check, and let's say after king to g2 we will continue checking, and the game will be done soon. This king is exposed, we will save this bishop, and we will soon create some checkmating threat. So unfortunately white lost, although it looked like he had a really nice attack in the start. If he found this this great move, also queen f2, queen f7 was another move, but you cannot find all the great moves. It's really difficult when you are over the board, and this was the only move that saved him, but he couldn't find it. He played king to f3, which led to this devastation of an attack, and a brilliant win here by black. And this was all for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to leave a comment, like, and share this video with other people who enjoy chess. If you want, you can join the chess community I'm a part of. You can check the link in the description of this video. It will help you a lot. If you're serious about improving your chess, you will not regret it. And for everything else, I am always here. Do let me know if you enjoyed this game, and do let me know your thoughts about it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you the next day. Bye bye.